5 things that I think deer managers oftentimes get wrong. One of those is hinge cutting. Now, that's not to say that hinge cutting in and of itself is wrong. It can be a very useful tool to immediately increase cover for deer in an area, and with the right species selection, it can also increase winter browse availability in areas, particularly in the northern portion of the whitetails range, where winter browse availability is very important to survival. So it's important to understand which species you're cutting and their relative value to deer for cover and forage, and their relative timber value as well. Now, some deer managers that are managing a property and they don't care about any timber income, and that's fine. However, I will add to that in areas where valuable timber resources are present, even if the landowner isn't initially interested in selling that timber, you should keep in mind that that is money that could potentially be used to finance other deer management activities on a property and help offset the other cost of property ownership and deer management as well. But when it comes to selecting species to increase winter browse availability, you have to know which species are more selected by deer than others. And the best way for you to get a handle on this is to contact a knowledgeable forester or a knowledgeable biologist and have them come out to your property, and they can assess the current species composition of a stand that you're thinking about potentially implementing some hinge cutting in for deer, and tell you which trees would be most valuable to the deer for forage and cover, and which ones are likely to have the least amount of negative impact on the timber value of that stand. Another thing I think a lot of deer managers get wrong is not testing the soil in their food plots and amending the soil based on those soil test results. Basically, if you have a situation where you don't implement a soil test, and particularly in a lot of the southern portion of the whitetails range, those soils are going to be acidic, and if lime is not applied, the nutrients in that soil that the plants need to take advantage of are essentially unavailable to the plants because they're locked up in that soil acidity to basically keep that at a relatively simple level. In addition to that, even in areas with relatively neutral soil, not adding the proper amounts of N, P, and K will result in suboptimal plant growth, and therefore not as much biomass of the plants will be produced, and those plots won't be as attractive to deer for hunting purposes, and they won't be as nutritious to deer because of the fact that the soil has not been properly amended. And so we spend a lot of time, we spend a lot of money as deer managers implementing food plots, and so that's one additional step that can make sure that that time and that money is put to the best use, and we have the best possible outcome in terms of providing deer nutrition and attraction for the hunting season. Planting cool season food plots without also managing native forage and planting warm season food plots is another thing that I see a lot of deer managers frequently getting wrong. Certainly, cool season food plots are great for attracting deer and providing supplemental forage during a time of the year during fall and winter where native forage tends to be more limited. That's an important supplemental forage. Like I said, it's also important for attracting deer. It increases our ability to observe large numbers of deer, achieve doe harvest quotas, and try to pattern bucks that we're after. But what only focusing on cool season food plots does is it fails to provide supplemental nutrition during another important time of the year, which is spring and summer. And the importance of spring and summer nutritionally for deer is that's when does are dropping their fawns, when they're lactating, which is a very energy demanding period, and when fawns are growing and have the highest crude protein requirements than during any other time of the year. So allowing those deer to reproduce successfully, having abundant supply of nutritious milk for their fawns so that those fawns grow as rapidly as possible, which will affect their body size and for bucks, their antler size throughout the rest of their life. And then also those bucks that are already adults, supplementing their nutrition and providing that protein so they can maximize antler growth when they're in velvet is very important.